Yo, what's going on? Hey, it's Saturday. I appreciate everybody tuning in. And I was supposed to drop this video yesterday. I was supposed to do this live yesterday, but sometimes DFD, I get a little caught up in the content that I'm watching. If y'all haven't, y'all make sure y'all go over, check out my guy, the homie Pocket Watching with JT. He had a great video last night, and I just couldn't pull away from it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to reschedule because I gotta finish watching this video because it was really dope. But he had a good video about a video that Social Proof put up uh, related to people who are calling out scammers. I thought it was awesome. It was great content. So if y'all haven't seen that video, y'all see that video. But because I was caught up watching that video, I was like, you know what? I can't put this video up because my guy JT content was just too good yesterday. So I flipped it over to today where we're going to talk about why aren't scammers getting prosecuted? Because that's just kind of what it appears to be. If you out here in this social media space, if you're on YouTube and you got some remote interest or on Instagram and you got the smallest interest in getting your finances together, it's a 99.99999% chance that some sponsored video popped up with somebody talking about how they wrote off of the entire price of a Porsche or a G Wagon, how you can finesse this or finesse that. It just seems so common. And I don't know if y'all peeped it in the thumbnail. Y'all see what I did in the thumbnail? I was like, I tried to get my Juneteenth on with the word scammers. So you know, but for the individuals who are on the thumbnail, let's just go ahead and talk about them. Y'all don't know who the people are on the thumbnail. Most people probably should if you watch finance content and you like, in the brown and black community. But we got Jay Morrison, we have him 500, and we have, oh man, I can't even think the other game. Bam Man Kevo. Now, how did you select these three people to put in your thumbnail? One is a little space, okay? It's a little space, and y'all know I gotta have my big grill on the thumbnail. But two, I could have filled that up with, I mean, people from all races and denominations because, hey, scammers or people who are trying to finesse come in all shapes or form. But for the three particular people who made it on the thumbnail, it's not necessarily because they're scammers. I was like, you know what? I'm not putting them up there because they're scammers. I'm putting people up there who I have seen actually give something that they purported to be financial advice, but it was actually illegal. So that was the requirement to make the thumbnail for this scammer video. It was way more people who I could have put up there, but I said I'm gonna talk about. I'm only gonna put people on the thumbnail who just appeared to be the most egregious advice givers that actually end up being felonies, bank fraud, false statements, you know, anything. So if you said something that came off as illegal, you made the thumbnail. Jay Morrison, yeah, he kind of made the thumbnail solely because of his Tulsa real estate fund, because the structure of it, the background of it, the payout of it, the lack of profits of it is all something that I've seen in my over 12-year career in dealing with investigations and financial crimes and criminal defense of things that are consistent with, yeah, we got you for money. So before we dive in, I wanted to just talk about why I selected those three, why I selected the Juneteenth scammer language, because I wanted to be consistent with what was going on in the holidays, and I wanted to talk about what was really impacting our community. Before I dive in, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel where we're talking finances, attorney reactions, all stuff that are interesting, but we always try to tie it in and relate it to the money for the most part. Sometimes I just got to talk about stuff. I am a licensed attorney. I'm licensed in several jurisdictions, but I'm not your attorney. So, this isn't legal or financial advice. I'm just giving my opinion and takes and letting y'all know the thought process on, hey, why does it appear that scammers, especially in the black community, aren't getting prosecuted? What's the deal? It seems like it's just so pervasive. So I'm just giving y'all my takes. It's not legal advice or financial advice. So go somewhere else if that's what you want to do. The three of the most obvious. Yeah, I know they were like the most habitual violators. So it was a couple of them, but we gonna dive in and talk about it. And I got a couple of videos. Y'all know the deal. If somebody created a video out there about something, I don't recreate content, but I will got a shout out. So I do got a couple of videos that I want to play. Nothing long. One's a short, maybe the other one is like 4 minutes or so, something to that effect. But yeah, appreciate everybody for tuning in. What's going on, sis? Thanks for jumping in. Okay, so let's talk about it. It seems like every day we see like scammers, grifters, whatever you want to call it online. Nobody's going to prison. These people are still up there. Nobody, or very rarely, do we even see civil lawsuits related to this. Now, I want to talk about it from both aspects. Okay, let's just kind of hop on the civil side first. The question is would be, why are scammers or people who are grifting or taking advantage of people who don't have financial education, why aren't they even getting sued just civilly? Like, somebody lost their money, they aren't suing them. We're going to talk about this first because this is the easiest one to talk about. More likely than that, the reason is a few reasons. One, it costs money to file a civil lawsuit. I don't care if a scammer or somebody finessed you, or you got screwed over by your car dealership, or you signed up for some course where you wanted to use the coupon voucher on the bottom of your gas bill to pay it, and you thought that you had a secret account, but you didn't. Even if you got finessed by paying for some bogus course, even if you got the upgrade deal that you really didn't get the benefit of what you paid for, it costs money to file a lawsuit. So a lot of people just don't have the money, the resources to file a lawsuit. But somebody came into DFD's office. Hey man, I got finessed out of $5,000 by whoever, him 500, you name them. Just throw a dart on the board and the first one you hit. If someone came in my office saying they got finessed out of money, the amount of money that they probably lost isn't even going to be worth their while for me to even remotely take a look at their case. Now, the only way that becomes something that's even viable, if there's enough people in the community just collective. If you got one person who lost $5,000, nah, bro, like, don't even come in my door. That's something I'm not even going to consider. Now, if you got 10,000 people who lost between $5,000 and $20,000, it might be a different ball game. It might be some type of class action that could be possible. That's point number one. Point number one is just that the cost of litigation to get money back from somebody, not even looking at the criminal, just trying to sue to get their money back, is just too expensive. Point number two, even if you can have a class of plaintiffs, you got a whole group of people who are going to complain. The other thing that has to be looked at is, do these cats even got money to pay off any type of judgment? And a lot of times the answer is probably going to be no. We see it all the time. Once you go through litigation, you find out what people really have, what their assets are. And it's not all the stuff that they flexing on Instagram. It's not all the cars. People just don't have it. So even if they have a viable civil lawsuit, like, yo, y'all can actually sue these people to get y'all money back. But the question is going to be, what can you actually recover from somebody who has nothing, from somebody who has a negative net worth, from somebody who had to file bankruptcy and they're supposed to be a master investor? You're just not going to have the recourse to even get any money back. Like, typically you sue somebody for money that you lost, you get a judgment, you carry that judgment down to the courthouse, and if that person has any property or assets, that judgment for that money they owe you gets attached to that property. So in some instances, you can force a sale. In other instances, if they sell that property, you got to get your bread first because you have that judgment attached to the property. But what we're seeing is, when it's time to look at the receipts of what people have, people will cost you to death. People will cost you to death, but people really don't have bread like that. People really don't have the money to pay off a judgment in a lawsuit. They don't have the assets. A lot of the assets that you see that they're in probably are rented or leased or something that they really don't even own. So that's just completely eliminates the possibility of any civil recovery. Yo, it's just not going to happen. There's no recourse. The third thing and I'll talk about this point from a civil standpoint, but this applies to civil and criminal. And honestly, this may be one of the most important reasons why prosecutions of these guys being sued in civil court, people trying to get their money back, never happen. Like, yo, especially in our community, like black folks, we really proud. You know what I mean? We really proud. We see something, or anybody, but we see something that we think, oh, this is a good opportunity, and we jumped on it. But one thing we don't want to do is admit that we got. One thing we don't want to do is admit that somebody pulled a quick one on us, somebody finessed us, somebody led us astray, bamboozled, hoodwinked, whatever you want to call it. A lot of times, and hey, I'm gonna just be realistic, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've had cases like this so many times where a wrong is done, but people are embarrassed that they actually fell for it. They embarrassed that they allowed this to happen, that they lost this money through somebody who just gave them the gift of gab. And because they're embarrassed, they don't want to tell their story. A lot of people who got finessed are much more comfortable leaving a comment about how somebody got them for money, as opposed to actually going down to their local attorney general's office and actually filing the complaint. Because and there's a couple of reasons. Part of it is you don't want everybody to know that you got finessed with something that obviously looked like a scam up front, and you shouldn't have fell for it. That's number one. Point number two is, hey, the no snitching culture is something that's real, and this could apply in the criminal or in the civil aspect. Even though I got finessed, I'm not going to bring it up because I don't want nobody to know I got finessed. I don't want nobody to know that somebody took me for one. But like, I ain't whatever. I'm just going to eat it up and chop it up as a loss. I lost that $4,000, $5,000. Don't nobody need to know. But I'm gonna definitely hit the thumbs down on this video and leave a snarky comment in there. So a lot of times, let's just think about it. A lot of times people are too embarrassed, too ashamed to even go forward, to go in an attorney's office and like, yo, I fell for this scam by somebody who believed that they can leave their physical body and operate on the outside, then jump back in their physical body and withdraw money from an account that they have at the U.S. Department of Treasury based on their social security number and their age. Like, nobody want to go into an attorney's office telling that wild ass crazy story. There's going to be just so much embarrassment. Once the court documents get showed, names are going to be on it. People don't really want to go through that scrutiny. People don't want to go through that ridicule. Now, I wanted to take a look at a couple of videos. I thought these videos were interesting because these were videos of people who, like I said, hey, like we said in the comment, like my guy said when he left the comment, these are three of the most egregious. And I just wanted to show some videos of, hey, this is why you guys made the thumbnail. And, like I said, like making a video about these guys, you can throw them on the thumbnail because there's enough content out there to where, like, yo, this is facts. This ain't fiction. So, I'm not too worried about somebody saying, oh, hey, man, you're telling stories on me. Nah, bro, these ain't stories. These are facts. And these are you people actually out here talking and making these comments. Before we watch this video, though, I make a distinction between scamming and grifting. Like, okay, we hear these phrases used all the time. A lot of times they're used interchangeably. The definitions that you'll see, actually, grift is really looked at as a small time scam, something that's not on a large scale for a large amount of money. But for purposes of this video, there are two categories, and I wanted to define those categories. I'm an attorney. I like defining the categories so everybody can know what the hell we talking about. A scammer is somebody who a person pays money to, and that person doesn't get the benefit of what they paid money into. If it's a course showing you how to do A, B, and C, you didn't get that. If it's an investment promising 12, 14, 20% returns, and you've been in that investment for 2, 3 years and you haven't seen any of that, you didn't get that. So for purposes of this video, a scammer is somebody here, hey, there's a money transaction going through. I'm handing you money. You're supposed to be handing me something. And the thing that I'm getting from you isn't what you're claiming it to be. The course is whack. The course is giving out general information. The information is bad. The information is fraud. It's generic information, and you told me it was going to be scaled directly to my financial needs. That's how we define scammer. Money exchanged for services or goods, and those goods or services don't measure up to what the purchaser thought. Now, grifting, okay? How would you define grifting? Okay. Now, officially, grifting is the same as a scam, but just on a smaller scale. But how I define it, because I think is a fundamental difference, especially when we're in this social media world, YouTube and all that stuff. I define grifting as you don't have that product to sell, you don't have that course to sell, but you have a platform where you're putting a scammer on, and you are using your platform so that that scammer can, get his bogus ass course out there, or his bogus product, or whatever it is, his bogus service. That's kind of how I define the grifter. So one thing that you'll see a lot of times is somebody grifting, and sometimes people grift just to grift, and there's actually no direct monetary benefit from it. Most times, if you got a grifter, what you'll see is, yo, come on my platform, talk about your product that may or may not be whack. I don't really care if it's whack, or I know it's whack, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And you promote your product, you promote your course. We'll throw a link in our description box. When people click on that link and buy your bogus ass course, hey, I'm gonna get a kickback. So most times grifters are identified, in my opinion, grifters are identified by having a platform and getting some type of kickback and or compensation from promoting the material of a scammer. I did a video where, according to the definition, Dave Ramsey in this context would have met the definition criteria of a grifter. He had a product, this timeshare group where people can get out of timeshares. He was pumping the product on his brand across his platforms. People were paying anywhere between $5,000 to like $72,000, I think, to get out of these stupid timeshares, and the company wasn't holding up their end of the bargain. Dave Ramsey got paid something like $30 million over a 5-year period or something to that effect. Now, did he know the course was bogus off the jump? He probably didn't know the course was bogus, but if you looked at that video I did, he knew that these people didn't have the infrastructure to handle the volume of people that was going to come from him promoting this timeshare exit team on his actual brand, on his channel, on his social content. So that is a grift. A grift is, I'm putting the scammer on my platform. I may be getting some type of a kickback. Most times the legal recourse for a grifter is probably not going to be criminal, even though it can be. The reason it won't be is because, I'm going to just keep it a buck, the intent to get someone who I define as a grifter caught up in criminal charges or some type of a conspiracy to commit fraud would probably be very hard to do. Um, and the reason I say that is because, I mean, they're going to always have some deniable plausibility of, well, I just have a platform. I put them on the platform. Now, of course, we can always go back, see if they did their due diligence, which the answer probably was no, that they didn't do their due diligence. But I think it's very unlikely that you'll see a grifter, someone who's getting a kickback, putting a scammer on their platform and getting a kickback through some backdoor deal or something like that. Those probably will never result in some type of criminal charges, just because the criminal intent is just going to be really hard to prove. I mean, unless you got like some smoking gun of an email or a text message where someone's like, yo, your course is trash, but let's just go ahead and do it anyway. So that's why you'll probably never see criminal charges come up for a grifter. And the recourse will be civil, like I talked about in that Dave Ramsey video, where you got a concept called unjust enrichment, which is exactly what it is. This person got unjustly enriched off of a finesse, so to speak, if we're going to keep it simple. Or it's going to be a negligence cause of action. A negligence cause of action. This person had a duty. They breached that duty. Because they breached that duty, I received damages. My damages were monetarily measurable. I lost some money. Sometimes you might, depending, you may be able to finesse a contract claim, but a lot of times that'll probably be real difficult because some of the more savvy people are probably entering into these grifting agreements to, put scammers on their platform. They're probably entering into real formalized, structured agreements. But I'm guessing that the vast majority of them are probably just done off the books. There's probably no paper trail. They're probably like, oh, I just put the link up there. We never really talked about it. So it'll just be hard to snatch up a grifter for some type of criminal conspiracy, criminal fraud, mail and wire fraud. It would just be hard to do because the intent is going to be a problem. All right, now I'm gonna pull up a few videos, and if y'all are familiar, y'all probably know this video off the cuff, right? This is a good one because my most recent work that I do is really in the banking industry, so I seen fraud in the banking industry all the time. So I thought this was a good video that we could talk about real quick of some advice, terrible advice. Is it advice? It's advice. It's badass advice, but we're gonna talk about it real quick. Short video. The crazy thing was the comments were like in the original video. Oh, let me shout out this channel real quick that I pulled this off of. All right, I just wanted to shout out the channel real quick. It's God Mike Reactions. So I wanted to shout out the channel. Y'all could go ahead and check it out. All right, let's take a look at him 500 and the bad advice.
Got a lot of niggas that's gonna come out here and be like, I ain't got shit, fuck that credit, right? But in reality, they don't know is that if I come with a bank where I got 500,000, I'm not gonna trust nobody to invest. What I'm gonna do is I will go to a bank. You can go to Navy Federal, right? I'm the best. You go to Navy Federal right now, apply for our. You can pull a VIN number off of car rules. They'll give you a loan. If you say, okay, look, I'm gonna be able to play. You're going there, so I need 100,000, right?
All right, so so this video is hilarious. The funny thing though, Trap in the background, like, I don't know, this information seems sketch, but it used to be a day and time where people who gave out bad financial advice. This is my new prop that I'm putting on anytime I hear somebody saying something that's some BS. They straight cap. So this is my new prop. But it used to be a time where scammers were really professional. And then at some point there was this transition from like, yo, isn't that cool to be an educated appearing person with a suit? The game is have a hard knock life background, maybe from the streets, maybe from being incarcerated. And now instead of flipping keys and doing illegal stuff, you finessing the financial game on the legit side. So now we got to this real weird point where everybody got big ass chains and rings and Bentleys and the whole nine. That's point number one. Point number two, go to Navy Federal Credit Union. Clearly a financial institution. Anyone who has a bank accounting can authorize do any types of loans. The second thing that he said was you want to go on Car Guru, Carfax, whatever the hell he said, and just find a random VIN number to use for a loan to get an auto loan. Well, let's just talk about it. If you actually go use a VIN number for auto loan with a car that you don't intend on purchasing, that's actually fraud. One, you have a false statement that's being made on that actual document. That's a charge in and of itself. In addition to that, you have financial or bank fraud because it's a financial institution. So that's two charges. Three, if you're actually successful on the easy side, just three easy ones: bank fraud, false statements, wire fraud. What is wire fraud? Anytime there's a financial transaction, money moves from one place to another using some telecommunications method, internet, phone, fax. You use anything to transfer money from state lines. It's a 90% chance Navy Federal Credit Union, the same place he's talking about, if they were to transfer that money in your account, it's not coming from the same state that you dwell in. That money is coming from some Navy Federal bank from somewhere else, probably in New York or Tennessee or somewhere else. But once it goes through those interstate lines, it's crossing state lines electronically. Now you have a wire fraud. If you mail in the bogus document, is mail fraud. I mean, that's just four charges that we got in the first 32 seconds But let's go ahead and finish listening. I'm gonna rewind it a little bit. Let's see.
They'll give you a loan if you say, okay, look, I'm gonna get on a play. You're going in, say I need 100,000, right? But your credit gotta be 700 plus, right? I give a blueprint on this show how to build your credit report out in detail. You go to Navy Federal, say, listen, I need to get 100,000. You get a car guru VIN number, and when you get the VIN number, you put it and mark it down 10,000. They cut you a check 24 hours.
A car gonna say that again?
Or car guru.
Car
Just get a
guru.
VIN number.
Right.
Life alone. Right. Should I take off? You got 90 days to give them the title. If you don't give them the title, it turns into a personal loan. So they just legally gave you the loan. It ain't nothing illegal. It turns to a personal loan. But ain't no way in hell you can go to the bank and get a personal loan. So for everybody out there, if you get your credit up, it's free game on the show. Then what happens is, okay, you got $100,000 from the bank.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. I don't know. First day.
3%?
3 to 5%, right?
Yeah.
For the first 90 days. After that, it turns to a personal loan. Interest rate go higher. What happens is now you got a bankroll. So now, if you want to risk somebody money, risk the bank's money. So when you see a Wall Street Trapper, when you see the Earn Your Leisures and the Earners Anonymous, now I can say, okay, well, shit, this they them for money anyway. So I'll put 10,000 over there, test it out. See, this is where it's down. But what happens is most of us will get the money and go blow it. Instead of going blowing it, you got these white folk money. Go invest it. Go figure out and gamble their money. So now instead of rolling dice, you're saying, okay, let me put 10,000 on Ethereum. Let me put 10,000 in Bitcoin and see how it grows. Then you start to learn, and then you get comfortable because now that's the beauty of all of us. We got communities where you can come and get what people look like you, making the same moves. We got niggas out the streets making 200,000 a month who look like you off of investing money.
Oh my god, this is the this may be the worst video of that may be the worst video his worst video. And I actually got some reaction videos I did to some blue cap stuff that him 500 said before, but that was pretty terrible. But that goes to show that, you know, the first 32 seconds I identified, at least that was the minimum. I'm sure I could find out some more if I really thought about it, but clearly 4 felonies. Some of these felonies have fines in excess of or up to $1 million, and you're talking about 20 years in prison. The other thing in that video that was crazy stupid was, now you're going to get this loan and do all this stuff, and his point was, now you have this money from this bank to do other stuff. You're not using your money. It's a loan. It's your money. If someone loans you something and you use it to do A, B, C, D, E, I don't care what it is, you owe someone back. So the whole entire logic doesn't make sense. But this is the type of lame advice. And I'm gonna just be honest. Like, I don't know about y'all, but if someone gets me financially, you aren't gonna talk how you aren't going to talk to me like you're back on the block. Like, that should be an immediate red flag. You know, but again, that video and stuff like that was all the reason why, you know, he was the poster boy for the thumbnail. All right, I'm gonna take a look at this other video real quick, then we're gonna talk about why these guys aren't getting prosecuted criminally. We started talking with it. The first thing was, people just really embarrassed. People don't really want to come forward. They don't want to go through the process. They don't want people to know that they got finessed the game. That was the first reason. Let's pull up this next video, and that's an article that's interesting. But this is a short by Pocket Watching with JT. Again, shout out to him. Check out this video he did last night on Social Proof, and then Message to Scammers, where they essentially said anybody who's calling out scammers is lame. Like, that's the most scammiest of scamming things that you could ever say. But check out this video. Bandman Kevo, another person who former reformed hood guy giving finance advice. And this was a beautiful short. That's why I wanted to use it. Y'all go check out JT channel and subscribe. But it was beautiful because he pieced together what happens when you listen to badass advice from people who just talking out the side of their neck, don't have no degree, no credentials, didn't even do the most basic and minimum of due diligence. Oh, I messed in that. I messed that up. It's so many.
Sites to buy houses.
And there's so many. They just vanishing. Where'd it go?
To buy houses. Then we're gonna talk about CPN. CPN is a credit profile number. It's basically another social that is clean with nothing on it. In order to get a car and a home with a clean record and a high credit score. On October 13th, 2022, Champley police officers responded to a call at the Landmark Atlanta dealership regarding a suspicious individual attempting to pick up a car with fraudulent identification. This is fraud. That's what you entertain. Yeah. You know something else crazy though? What? Somebody told me that like I was able to use my CPN. You know. What else? Like, I mean, what y'all want me to say? Like, they told me to get a car. That's how I was able to do it. What's going on? You figured me out.
Oh man, I thought that video was utterly hilarious, man, because this dude really took like that's firsthand where we got to see. Hey, let me take off the blue cap for that terrible advice. But that's firsthand where we got to see someone give some terrible advice about how to get a car and all this stuff and all this expensive stuff, and the guy get arrested. And the cop's reaction was hilarious. I thought that was hilarious. All right, so now we're gonna turn the page and talk about what's going on criminally. Why aren't guys getting prosecuted? And the number one reason is, it's just too many people out there scamming for us to take note of every scam. There's there's so many Bandman Kevos and him 500s who black brown is an Asian Bandman Kevo somewhere. Is one from Portuguese. It's so many people out there doing so many scams, so much finessing. The ones that we see in our little bubble that are so small, it seems like it's so pervasive, but there are a lot of people getting prosecuted. People just don't have the resources to do it. Let's just think about it, okay? If a case, somebody called in and it was a brand new complaint, somebody called in. And this is how it goes if an investigation starts. Someone will call in, hey, I lost money, a person did this, or my grandmother got scammed out of this. That initial complaint, they're going to take that complaint and give it to an investigator. That investigator is going to do work on it. That investigator may be making $150,000 a year. After that investigator does work on it, he's going to say, okay, you know what? I did some preliminary stuff. I called around. I pulled some documents. I did some background stuff. It looked like we got something here. That investigator who make $150,000, he's going to give that case to an attorney. Now, on the team with that attorney, you're going to have an attorney, 2 special agents, maybe an auditor, someone to look at the finance, to look at the money. Now, that attorney probably making a couple $100,000. Those agents probably making 6 figures easy. The auditors making 6 figures easy. So now we got literally, you talk about damn near $1 million worth of salary to look into an allegation of fraud that's going on. Just from a resource standpoint, sometimes monetarily, it may not be worth the while. It's just not going to be worth the while. There's bigger fish to fry. That's point number one. Point number two, and I think this is actually interesting, is a concept called a self-licking ice cream cone. And it's like, well, DFD, what the hell is a self-licking ice cream cone? But a self-licking ice cream cone is a phrase that's used in law enforcement. And essentially what that means is, you know what, guys, law enforcement, local, state, federal law enforcement, there's enough fraud out here going on where there's enough ice cream on this ice cream cone for everybody to get a taste, and it'll never run out of ice cream. They call it, literally, the concept is called a self-licking ice cream cone because it's just enough fraud going on for them to always find. So let's just think about it this way. As we define scammers and grifters, right? And this happens even at the street crime level. Like at the street crime level, do you think law enforcement is aware of people who participate in street crimes? But not all the time is it advantageous to go in there and execute an investigation or arrest immediately. You know why? Like, no, let's observe, let's sit back, let's watch, let's see who this person's interact with. Let's say where they fall on the totem pole. Let's see if we can flip this person up. Let's see if they are the boss or is somebody else. There's a lot of tactical and strategical advantage into not moving to investigate a lot of these scammers. And I'm just going to be honest. One of them would be, let's talk about social proof, since that was a video that shout out to JT. He did a video on last night and then message to scammers, which was hilarious. And they deleted that video fast as hell, right? A platform like Social Proof. Now, I don't think the host of that show is a scammer. I haven't seen anything out there where he'd offered something and people who are making a payment aren't getting the benefit of what they bargained for. I've never seen anything like that. So I don't define him as a scammer. Now, is he a grifter? Do he have some shady ass guys on his platforms? Absolutely 100% yes. So the question is, well, why would a show like this or people who go on this show be allowed to continue? Because there's a platform for people to get on there and talk about finances. And for every 10 guests, let's say 8 of them are legitimately talking about something that's not illegal. The 2 who are talking about something illegal, you can stand back and watch and just see, how's this person doing? What are they doing? And it's, like I said, a self-licking ice cream cone. You know, the number of people who appeared on EYL, the number of people who appeared on Social Proof, who have got state indictments, federal indictments, investigated by the Commodities and Future Trading Commission for millions of dollars. Why shut that down? I wouldn't shut that down if it's a constant stream of perpetual scammers who may come through this platform that's going to talk about what they're doing and give me visibility into how they operate. So there's a strong possibility that something like that would is just never going to get addressed. No one's really going to address it, because if you have a platform, you're inviting finance guys on, and 1 out of every 10 is a scammer, that's good. I'm gonna just go ahead, keep feeding those guys through the funnel, feeding those guys through the funnel. And this article that I had linked in here, it actually relates to someone who was investigated by the Commodities and Future Trading Commission. I want to say it was $143 million, but he was a guest on one of the participants was a guest on Social Proof. Mike Sims, I believe, was his name. And that's another reason why these things aren't really going to get taken down, because it serves as a platform for people to get on there and talk about the dumbass illegal stuff that they do. Now, the number one rule of thumb, and think about it, people think when they're finessing the system, it's not hurting. Oh, it's just, you even heard these guys say, oh, when I finesse the system, you're just taking the man's money and you're using it for something else. When any financial system gets finessed, everybody pays for it. You don't think when someone commits auto loan fraud, bank fraud with Navy Federal Credit Union or your local bank, when that money is lost, the person don't have the money to pay it back. The assets that they forfeited aren't worth what they paid for them because of depreciation. You know who flipped the bill for that shit? You all, the people who have the accounts there. They're gonna feed the hell out you. If it's a federal program like PPP or unemployment, anytime fraud done in that matter, you know who pays the bill? Y'all law-abiding 1099 W-2 employees. So I never adhered to the concept of, oh, you're just taking money from the man and it's no harm, no foul. They got insurance that'll cover it. Nah, if you finesse insurance, you know what happens? Your insurance premium is going to go up to pay for the scam that some goofy did. So at the end of the day, everybody pays for the scams that just happen in the natural course of scamming. That's just kind of how it goes. Now, there's only 2 type of people who are really susceptible well, 3. There's 3 type of people who are susceptible to fraud, and the third person can remove themselves from that category completely. All right, the first type of person is someone who is just uneducated. And what I mean by uneducated, I don't mean you got a law degree or baccalaureate degree from somewhere. I mean, you just didn't take the time to Google something or look at something. If you're considering any type of investment, the easiest thing to do is go to Google, type the investment that you're thinking about pursuing, and then type the word scam in afterwards, and then just read. Most likely that's going to be more that's basic. I'm not talking about going to the Better Business Bureau. I'm not talking about going to the Secretary of States and looking at the articles and corporation. I'm just talking about typing the investment you're considering, typing the word scam, and just start reading. That's a great place to actually start your research. So that first type of person is someone who's just they're uneducated, and if a person is uneducated or don't have a basic fundamental financial background, what's going to happen is anybody who can give you three or four buzzwords and appear to know what they're talking about with confidence, they'll probably be able to convince you that, hey, this person, you should trust what they're saying because they know what they're talking about when they have no clue what the hell they're talking about. That's person number one. Person number one can definitely remove themselves from that category of getting finessed. These other two are people who you probably can't move yourself from that category. People who are greedy. If you greedy, the chances of you falling for something that's bogus is just high. It's because you want something for nothing. Anytime something is too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Steer clear of it. A lot of times, if there's businesses out there, one thing that you can do that a lot of people probably don't do is actually reach out to your local state attorney general's office and just say, yo, I'm thinking about doing business with this. Have you all received any complaints? Is this sometimes attorney general's office, they'll issue alerts related to certain businesses that are scamming people in the community. And that's a good way to check, do some background investigation. And I tell you, one prime example is like in the city, a lot of people are building homes. They're buying properties and building homes. And you see contractors doing all of this construction left and right. But if you actually go to the city, go to their website, go to who has license to do what, you'll see like 70%, I ain't gonna say 70, but a good portion of contractors who are out there building houses are doing stuff not up to code. They don't have the proper permits. They don't have the proper licensing. And all of that information is really readily available by Google. People just don't do the due diligence to go and look. So if you don't have a fundamental knowledge of financial basics, just that the basic foundational fundamentals, anybody who knows a couple of buzzwords and can speak loud with confidence has a good chance of convincing someone that, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. The next type of person who's susceptible is the person who is greedy. The person who's greedy, who wants something from nothing, who want to invest in piss coin and want that coin to go from less than a penny to $2 while they buy a gazillion shares for $39.99 and they're going to become the next piss coin billionaire. Those type of people are definitely susceptible for falling for it. And the last type is people who are under duress. I think a lot of times, and I actually was going to talk about this in this video, but it was just too much fraud. It was too much fraud and too much finessing and scamming to squeeze into one damn video. But I got a live I'm going to do, and it's about the coupon payment method. And why it's a terrible thing, why it's BS, why them citing to all these statutes in the Uniform Commercial Codes are inaccurate. It's going to be an interesting video. But a lot of times the reason people fall for scams is because they're in a bad financial situation. They could, it's a little bit of greed, but they could actually not be greedy. But because their financial situation is so bad, they're willing to take a risk on something that's far-fetched as hell to try to get out of it. Like, damn, I can't pay my bills. I can't keep up. Yo, I saw this dude on YouTube who said I could just write on this coupon that they send with my bill and send it back to him and my bill to be paid. Let me go ahead and do that. And I'm going to pay $50 a month for this course so he can teach me how to do it. That person, they may have some fundamental foundational knowledge in the basics of financial literacy, that person may not necessarily be a greedy person, but because that person is in a tough situation, hey, when you stressed out, when you under pressure, you know, people will try anything to stop from drowning in a pool of debt. You know what I mean? Trust me, I've been there before. I've done the multi-level marketing thinking it was like, man, I was like, man, this dude living the life. It's the only job he got, and he get to go to the movies in the daytime. I want to go to the movies in the daytime too. So if you're in a tough financial situation, you're willing to do anything to get out of it. That's another thing. And that's probably the biggest thing to making you susceptible to falling for these schemes because there's some promise of a lucrative return or you being able to get out of debt and change your position, something like that, without really putting in the work. And we just got to come to the realization and understand what have any of you, and y'all let me know in the comments, but like nothing that I ever wanted or really wanted didn't require like hard work and effort. Let's just think about it. Absolutely nothing that I ever wanted in life didn't require hard work, effort, patience, and time. Those are the four things that are required for you to change your position. I don't give a damn if it's a degree. I don't care if it's you wanting to change your financial situation. I don't care if it's you wanting to change your relationship with your spouse or your family. Patient, effort, dedication, time are all the fundamental things you're going to need to make change. Sometimes you can have rapid change, but what's the problem with rapid change? A lot of times it opens you up to the finesses, to the scams, but a lot of times rapid change is not sustainable. Why isn't rapid change sustainable? Because you haven't built up the muscle of having the habit of doing the right thing. So a rapid change isn't going to have you in a good position 6 months, 12 months, 3 years from now because you haven't built up the muscle memory of, hey, okay, if I make this rapid change, this is how I need to move. This is what I need to do to sustain it. So yeah, I had a windfall. Okay, I was in a car accident and I got hit by a Wonder Bread truck and I got $1 million. This is going to change my financial situation completely. Most times it's not. You know why? Because it was a fast windfall. It was a windfall, a large amount of money. If you haven't built up the habits on how to move with your money when you had $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year, you're gonna have them same badass habits when you have $1 million from a settlement or something to that effect. So, you know, that's just things that we got to take into context. But yo, those are really the vast majority of reasons why you see a lot of scammers appear not to be getting prosecuted. Because one, a lot of them actually are getting prosecuted, but some of the ones that we see all the time are just, I mean, let's just be honest. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like somebody like a him 500 or something like that, like giving out bogus advice, he probably haven't even made enough money to even be worth my time investigating. I'm just gonna be honest with you. All the Bentleys and Lambos aside, he probably hasn't really made enough money through whatever scammy means that it would be actually worth my time, energy, and effort to have an investigative team look at. So, one, scammers are getting prosecuted. Two, the scammers in the bubble that we live in may not be getting prosecuted. And the reason is because I'm gonna just be honest, they just kind of small time. When you're talking about scams, it's people out here who are doing multi-million-dollar scams. Now, there is a way and a method to go after small time scammers, and this is kind of how I've done it in the past. Okay, I've worked cases before where there were scammers of small amounts of money, and I'm talking about a company scammed someone out of $5,000 here, $10,000 here, $30,000 a year. Over the course of the year, let's say this company scammed, I don't know, 100 million. I mean, 100 million. Now I'm prosecuting their ass. Let's say over the course of the year, this company scammed $100,000, $150,000, and they just been kind of doing this over time. That dollar amount, even though it's growing over time, is just not enough to put the investigative and the prosecutorial resources in. You got an attorney, a stenographer, a courtroom reporter, a judge, a bailiff, all in there listening to this criminal case for this dude who stole $200,000, and half the people in this room probably make $200,000. Hell no, it's just not going to make any sense. But a lot of times, what happens with smaller scammers is they kind of get packaged up. Okay. And so, how that typically looks is, look, I'm not going to waste all the resources looking at all these guys who just aren't making real money in a small time. So, what I'm going to do is, let's make a deal. Every 6 months, it'll look something like this. Every 6 months, you send me a handful of small time scammers that y'all did investigations on that they gift wrap. Okay, this guy is scamming people by saying that they should commit bank fraud. He's offering a course. We actually went online, purchased this course undercover, and in his course, he's teaching people to do bank fraud. Like, if it was something like that, what they would do is, okay, we don't want to look like we don't give a damn about these people being scammed out here, even though these people are small time. So what they'll do is package up a group of small time scammers. I got these 10 scammers right here. We got all of their individual cases. All the investigations were done. They were real clean rips, easy to find out. These guys weren't Bernie Madoff. They weren't rocket scientists. They didn't have 55 LLCs wrapped up in a partnership wrapped up in a C Corp. So we got this package of small time scammers, 6 to 10 cases that are gift wrapped. Prosecute those cases, and we'll do that every 6 months. Every 6 months, we'll take a handful of guys that are smaller level scammers, prosecute those guys, just so people know that we're actually taking a look out there. That's typically how you see smaller, lower level scammers get caught up. But like I said, the reason you aren't seeing a lot of the scammers in the black community who we used to seeing is because, one, they probably aren't even making enough revenue illegally to be on someone's radar that's actually worthwhile. Now, some of the guests on these shows who got $143 million Ponzi schemes, those are the people who are really going to get looked at. So resources, people aren't really making as much money as they need to be to allocate the investigative and prosecutorial resources. Witnesses and people who got scammed don't want to tell people that they got finessed. They'd rather just leave a comment. We talked about on the civil side. On the civil side, you never see. On the civil side, people don't have civil resolutions for scammers because it costs money to file those cases. And if you lost $5,000 paying for a course for some coupon voucher to pay your damn electric bill, you're not going to have the money to go into an attorney's office to pay him to file a complaint to be able to get your damn money back. So people don't want to know that people don't want others to know they're embarrassed. Civilly is not going to happen because people don't have the money to do it. People don't have the money to bring the lawsuits. Even if you found a class of people for like a class action lawsuit, you found 30 people who lost $5,000. Yeah, that's better. But in that situation, the problem is, if we sue this person, does this person has the assets and the resources to pay back any of this damn money? If the answer is no, that defendant, even though what they're doing may be shady as hell, they're judgment proof. And that just means that even if we get a civil judgment against them, we can carry this judgment to the courthouse. We can't attach it to his house. You know why? Because he don't own his house. We can't attach it to his Bentley because he don't own his Bentley. So you'll just be sitting there like, I got a judgment for $30,000 against Scammer A, but Scammer A don't really own shit. Everything is leased, rented, and he in foreclosure, so there's no recourse there. Those are kind of the reasons that you don't see it. But there'll still be scammers out there. There'll still be scammers going down. They just, unfortunately, scammers can't get prosecuted as fast as prosecutors and investigators can't investigate and prosecute as fast as new scammers are born. Like, a new scammer is born, like, it's probably a new scammer born, like, I don't know, maybe like one every second. It's probably some new scammer born every second. And it's like a new prosecutor getting licensed to prosecute law, like, one every 3 hours or something like that. I don't know the real numbers, but scammers just growing too fast, man. It's like scammers is like gremlins, man. You put them in water and they just multiply, and that's just kind of what it is. Yo, I appreciate everybody who tuned into this video, checked out this video. I don't know if I'm gonna do it live or not, but I'm gonna do a video Monday and I'm gonna talk about government and treasury bonds. Like, I'm gonna talk about government and treasury bonds, and we're gonna peel back some of the layers. I haven't done a video in a while where I looked at my investment portfolio, but I feel like it's time to show y'all what my investment portfolio is doing. Show y'all what it did last year, which was terrible. Last year was terrible. Oh man, I lost like 20% or something. It was something crazy. But this year is looking like a bounce back. We're gonna talk about that next week. As always, y'all take care, be safe, keep your head on the swivel, don't fall for the gamesmanship, don't fall for the scam. If somebody is really like pro-black or pro-religion or pro anything in a financial vehicle that they're trying to sell you, you should probably run the other way because they probably about to get you with the okey doke. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Peace.